Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Matthew VanBesien. I have great pleasure and privilege to serve as the president of the University Musical Society, or UMS, here at the University of Michigan. I want to welcome all of you this afternoon. Thank you for tuning in for this kind of update check-in. We're about to start the 2021-22 fall season here at UMS. And of course, everything here at the University of Michigan is up and running. Very, very exciting time. I want to take a moment to thank, first and foremost, all of you for joining us this afternoon, all of our audiences, our supporters, our sponsors, our volunteers, our board members, and of course, the indefatigable, amazing, talented UMS staff. They've made so much happen over the last 18 months during the pandemic. We're excited to get things back on track for all of you and to re-engage with you safely and in person and live this year. Today actually is UMS's first single ticket on sale day. This is the first day that tickets to all of the individual performances and events are on sale to the general public. In our business, that's always kind of an exciting day. It always signals that the new season is really here. It's upon us. So this season and this year, of course, things are going to be a little bit different, and we've known this for some time, and we're excited to check in with you today. We have a lot to look forward to, and with our recent announcement of new health and safety policies for the events through the end of the calendar year, so through the end of December of this year, we're looking forward to welcome everyone back into our venues, but doing so in a very safe and thoughtful way. So today, we're going to give you an update on a few things, but we're going to start today's discussion with health and safety, and then move on to an overview of the next couple of months of our programming and activities, both virtual and live, that we have coming up. And I'd also like to invite any of you to put a question in the chat. We will field as many questions as we can during the broadcast with you tonight. And if we're not able to get to every question, we will circle back to you and address the question with you directly. I want to give a shout out to the U of M Retirees Association. I had a great chance to be with them this afternoon. It was really fun to tell them about where we've been as an organization over the last 18 months and where we're going. And it really got me excited to think about the fact that we have learned so much over the last 18 months. We are ready. We are ready to welcome you back into our venues safely. We're excited to give you access once again to the incredible artistry and artistic experiences that only UMS can provide. We've had a lot of friends at UMS, a lot of supporters, a lot of people who've really helped us along the way. And I can hardly think of anyone who's been more helpful than Dr. Preeti Malani. She's the Chief Health Officer of the University of Michigan. I'm proud to say that Dr. Malani is now also a member of the UMS board. And she's really someone who's not just been a great colleague, but she's someone who's actively advised us over the past months as we've been developing our plans for a safe and healthy reopening. So Dr. Malani, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
It's always great to see you. Thank you, first of all, for all the work that you've been doing on behalf of the University of Michigan, the Ann Arbor and the Southeast Michigan community. These are extraordinary times. How are you doing?
You know, it's been great. And it's certainly been an interesting year and a half. And, you know, I'm glad to be here and really to acknowledge the team that has really been working at this to really get campus to this moment.
Well, you're doing amazing work. We so appreciate it. It's so kind of electrifying to be here on campus. I'm here in my office at Burton Tower. I've seen students all day. I've seen people going about the work and business of the University of Michigan, but I see them doing it safely and thoughtfully, which is really, really heartening to me. I want to start with campus and actually Washtenaw County right now. You know, we're still 4 weeks out from our first UMS performance, but we obviously had a football game this past weekend. With all that's happening and all the students on campus, tell us what you're seeing, what we should be paying attention to, and what are the lessons that you're already learning from where we are right now?
You know, Matthew, it's been a year and a half of uncertainty, which I think really creates anxiety for many of us. And for some folks, they have been waiting for this moment when magically things are going to go back to 2019. And, you know, unfortunately, SARS-CoV-2 is transitioning to something that we think of as endemicity, the idea that it's going to be here and that we have to figure out how to move alongside COVID and be flexible in the face of uncertainty. And, that means not just doing things without regard, but to do things safely and to use public health tools like masks, for example. And just like in-person education is essential, so is performance. And as we have discussed, and I'm sure we will discuss, vaccination is the best way to do this. And, we're really fortunate that our campus is so highly vaccinated, especially our students who overall it's about 93%. And that number is increasing because some of them did not have access to vaccines where they came from, and particularly those joining us from international locations. So, sort of back to your question, Washington County has continued to be in this high transmission range. Right. And again, most of the country is in that range or higher. And we have seen an increase of COVID cases in the past 7 days. But, I will remind people that the campus has actually populated during that time. We've gone from very few students to having 50,000 students. And there has been some strain on the University Health Service and contact tracing, but overall, things are okay. And the good news is no one is very sick. So the cases we are seeing, particularly in students, are related to social gatherings, which frankly is important for them. It's important for all of us, but I think particularly for young people. And fortunately, the illness that we're seeing is very mild, and it's not spreading to large numbers of people.
Right. Staying at the 10,000 feet level, there are certainly hot spots in the country right now, and especially in states with lower vaccination rates. There's a lot of speculation in the media about if there's going to be a next wave here. In Michigan, there was also some writing recently in Bridge Magazine about that maybe because of our own history here in Michigan, we might not experience that. Can I ask you your professional take on where we are?
Yeah, so the pandemic is not over. And as the pandemic changes, I think our recommendations, and we have to change, we have to adapt. And the big thing that has changed in recent weeks, and everyone knows this, is the idea of the Delta variant and the idea of breakthrough cases. I think that, Matthew, we've talked about, I know earlier this summer, I was certainly living my best life. I know you were as well. And, Delta has caused us to move the needle a little bit. And there are different theories on why Michigan has done better. We're not highly vaccinated, although the numbers are increasing. And I will say Washington County, Oakland County, even Wayne County are actually pretty highly vaccinated, which is good. Mm-hmm. But there's certainly parts of our state that are at risk. But, one of the thoughts is that the spring wave that we saw, that we were an outlier. And a lot of people said, what's going on in Michigan? And I said, you know what? We're ahead of the curve. We're not an outlier. We're not that different. But it may be that did leave some population-based immunity. And again, these are just theories. But I will say as kids, especially K through 12 kids, are back in school, that is a concern for parents and for families, and to make sure that our little ones certainly stay safe. So we're not done, but we can move forward thoughtfully. And I think we really do know what works. And masks and vaccination work to really protect everyone, not just the person who's doing the intervention.
I mentioned we're about 4 weeks out from our first indoor public performance at Hill Auditorium, which we're going to talk about later with Michael Konjolka. But, we know from our audience surveying and research that our audiences are actually highly vaccinated, estimated kind of in the 95% range. We've been surveying them way back since April. And, our staff is now 100% vaccinated. Our board is 100% vaccinated. All the artists, performers, stagehands, crew, ushers, volunteers, everyone will need to sort of certify and show proof of vaccination status. And then, of course, we're going to be asking our audiences to also show their vaccination proof or a PCR test within 72 hours, plus being masked. What does all of that mean for managing risk for attendees to UMS performances?
First of all, I just want to say congratulations, because that's incredible that you have 100% of your staff vaccinated. So,
well, they're a great
staff. And again, I think as a community, we are pretty highly vaccinated, which means that we're less likely to get disrupted, less likely to have people get extremely sick and be hospitalized, because again, those cases overwhelmingly are people who are unvaccinated, or they have underlying health conditions that put them at a higher risk, and they put them in a little bit different bucket. So Vaccination is very, very important. It's a tool we have. And again, one of the things I like to say is we're not powerless against COVID. We can actually move forward with things, but it has to look and feel a little different. And, when you layer masking on top of vaccination, like we have in our classrooms, you really create a situation where the risk is negligible. And, again, that means people have to wear their mask properly.
Right.
Which again, I don't think the UMS audience is the audience that isn't going to wear their masks. And again, it also does mean that you need the overall rate in the community to be in check. And although the transmission rate is high, we're actually better than most places in this country. And so it's this idea of layers. A year ago when we didn't have vaccines, we had social distancing and we had masks. But now that we have vaccines, you can sort of mix and match. And if you're outdoors, it's safer. If you're indoors, you might have to do more levels of mitigation. And that's kind of what we're doing in K through 12 spaces, for example, because children, most of them are not eligible for vaccination.
Right. Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the social distancing piece, because the guidance is that if we have a predominantly, if not entirely fully vaccinated audience, and they're wearing masks, that the social distancing then does not come into play as much, or it's not so important. Is that your feeling as well, that if you're taking those additional precautions, that you're in good shape and do not need to social distance as much?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's not just made up. That's actually good guidance, and it's based on empiric evidence. And again, what I would say is that I am comfortable going into a space like that as someone who is fully vaccinated and knows how to wear my mask. And especially that I'm entering a space that other people are they're vaccinated at a high level. And of course, one piece we haven't talked about is if you have symptoms or you're not feeling well, is to certainly not come to, you should never come, but especially today, you shouldn't be there.
Yeah. Well, we've had tremendous response today on our single ticket day, and we've had so many audience members, and I was with a group today, and they were just so jubilant that UMS is returning to live in-person performances. But we understand and recognize that there are people that aren't quite there yet. And one of the questions that we received prior to this webcast tonight was sort of calling our intentions, not calling them into question, but sort of saying, if you're going to have performers on a stage congregating, performing, aspirating for 2 hours, and you have an audience who's also going to be there for those same 2 hours, does that not create a risky situation for everyone in the hall? Can you just sort of respond to that directly?
Yeah. So again, I understand that this could seem risky for folks. And again, one thing I will just say from a personal level is I feel very good about going into that space. And I feel really good sending my parents and in-laws to that space. And actually, my in-laws are big fans of UMS, Matthew, as you know. A lot of times I'll send them in my place if I get busy. And they certainly love to go. And I would feel very comfortable sending them as well. And I don't say that lightly. Again, we have learned a lot in the past year and a half. And some of this seemed very impossible. But what we have learned is that if you have vaccination and masks are extremely effective. And again, the performers are not right next to you. They are a distance from you.
Right.
It's really the folks that are right around your ring that expose you the most. And again, if folks are masked, if they're vaccinated, and the ventilation is also very good. It actually exceeds requirements or recommendations, as I understand, particularly at Hill. So I'm not concerned about that. And actually, this type of thing has been occurring around our country and around the world in places that have sort of figured this out. So, I know that it seems risky, but these mitigation steps make it less risky. Is it zero risk? No, but it's pretty darn low. And so I think that's kind of, for me, that balance is that itself is like, can it be as low as possible?
Right.
And it's certainly so much better than last year. Last year it was sort of impossible to do this. Right. But this year with vaccination, it can be done. And again, classrooms on campus, on our campus, on other campuses, that's a similar kind of setting, to be honest, where someone is speaking to you, maybe without a mask, different conferences, and we're not seeing issues. And again, the performers are also vaccinated. Right. They are looked after carefully. They're probably tested in some cases too.
Yes. And the performance, I would say, our artists, we've been in touch with really all of them, and the artists are signaling their commitment to creating this safe environment for our audiences, but of course for themselves. They have an incredible vested interest
Yeah.
in maintaining their level of safety and mitigating their own risks, because as artists they've been affected terribly by the pandemic. So they are very, very eager to get back on our stage and other stages around the U.S. So, Dr. Malani, Preeti, you were such a great colleague and friend. We feel incredibly proud to now call you a member of the UMS board. You've been incredibly busy. I know we saw each other at the last live UMS performance back in March of 2020. As you look ahead to this season, is there anything that's on your radar on the UMS lineup that's really caught your eye that you feel like I can't miss that no matter how busy I am?
No, I did go through and buy tickets, and there's a lot of really good stuff. But I would say for me, what I'm looking forward to is Jazz at Lincoln Center, because I love the holidays, and I really felt like I lost them last year. They kind of came and went, and I felt like I didn't do anything. So this year, I'm going out big.
Great. Well, I mean, we're always happy to have our friends at Jazz at Lincoln Center back, Wynton Marsalis. The last time they came and played that holiday show in 2019, it was on fire. They were just absolutely terrific. So we'll look forward to seeing you there and at other performances. And we just want to sincerely thank you again, not just for your advice and counsel for UMS, but all that you're doing for the U of M community and for the Southeast Michigan community. Thank you so much.
Thanks. And I just want to thank UMS for also stepping up during this difficult time. I can't say enough. I mean, the performances, and of course, Some Old Black Man especially was really so powerful. So you guys have done so much too during this time.
Well, it's our pleasure, and we're happy to do it. So thank you again, Dr. Preeti Malani, Chief Health Officer at the University of Michigan. Thank you so much for joining us. I'd now like to introduce a colleague of mine and someone here at UMS, Christina Bellows. She's our Director of Patron Services. You can imagine how busy she's been today, but absolutely in the past days and weeks and months. Christina's going to talk to everyone a little bit tonight to remind them about how ticketing works, how seating works as we move into the fall. So welcome, Christina.
Thank you, Matthew. Today was the first day of single ticket sales, and it's always a really exciting time for the Patron Services Department. We get to hear the excitement that people have for the upcoming season. It gives us a boost. We're kind of on the same team there. But today felt a little extra special. We've all really missed the live performances, and it seems like we're all really in this together when it comes to returning to live performances safely, and also just really sharing in the joy and excitement of being able to do that. One of the questions that we have been getting about upcoming performances and tickets is about the seating. And I'm really excited to say that we've finished the seating process for subscribers and other ticket buyers so far. And we've really been able to give everybody great seats. We'll be mailing out tickets for our fall events starting next week. And people with tickets after January and later, they'll be able to look for their tickets sometime a little bit later in the fall. But for anything happening before January, those will be going out real soon. Next week. I'd also like to remind everyone who's purchasing tickets that email is really proving to be the most effective way for us to communicate with people about what to expect at performances this year. We really want to make sure that we have an email address on file for you and an email address that you check on the regular so that we can communicate what we expect from you and what you can expect from us in return. You're going to be looking for 3 pre-performance emails. They'll go out about 10, 4, and 1 day before the events that you've purchased tickets for. And it's really important. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to open and read those messages. It'll let you know what's going to happen. And so when you get to the performance, you will be prepared. Just to be on the safe side, there are not going to be any exceptions on the vaccine or the negative test requirement. So if you show up without the proof that you've met those requirements, you're not going to be able to enter the performance space. And we really want to make sure that you can. If you have any questions about tickets, performances, what's going to happen in the upcoming year, please feel free to reach out to the patron services team. We've got a really great team. They've been with us through the pandemic. You can reach us at 734-764-2538. If you want to check with us, update your email address. We've also started our in-person hours at the Michigan League Ticket Office. So right now we're there from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. We're looking to expand hours as we get more student staff members on board. So stay tuned. Hopefully that'll be soon. That's all from me today. I'll turn it right back over to you, Matthew.
Well, Christina, I really appreciate you coming on, and we all thank you for that helpful information, and really for all that you and the patron services folks have been doing. You guys have been doing incredible work throughout the entire pandemic, from the very, very get-go when everything kind of came to a screeching halt. You and your colleagues have really been there for our audiences and our ticket buyers, and we thank you. Before I let you go, though, I want to know, what's your can't miss UMS performance coming up this season?
I'm sure it's no surprise because I can't stop talking about it, is the Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower. I read the books in the past year, and if you haven't read them yet, please pick them up. They're fantastic. The source material is great. And in the last year, I actually caught a digital concert with Toshi Regan where she was performing songs, and yeah, it's going to be so good.
Yeah, hear. Parable of the Sower at UMS this year. Thank you, Christina. Thank you so much for all that you're doing. Thanks for being with us tonight. We're going to welcome now our Vice President for Programming and Production at UMS, my wonderful colleague, Michael Konjolka. Michael's going to join me. Look, and get extra points for very atmospheric lighting tonight. Michael, it's great to see you. I wanted to bring you on because we really have to talk about a performance and a special event that we added in the month of October, on October 12th, a recital by the wonderful tenor Jonas Kaufmann. So, Michael, who is Jonas Kaufmann? I mean, why is it great that this is happening here in Ann Arbor and at the University of Michigan?
Well, it's really fun to talk about. First of all, I think a lot of people who are, opera nerds know the name Jonas Kaufmann because he's a real star. But for those who don't, Jonas is an extraordinary German operatic tenor. He was born in Munich, still lives in Munich with his family. He sings all the great signature tenor roles that we love: Tosca, Carmen, La Traviata, Don Carlo, all these operas with these great tenor roles he stars in the most important opera houses around the world. Mm-hmm. He also has ventured into the weightier Wagner repertoire as well. And as a German man, he opened the Bayreuth Festival a few seasons back in Lohengrin, and there are probably few greater honors in Germany than opening the Bayreuth Festival. A factoid about Jonas is that when he started his vocal training, he was studying to be a mathematician. And clearly the singing took off and he was able to venture down the music road instead of the math road. So lucky him. And in addition to opera, he's an extraordinarily accomplished concert and recitalist. The last time he sang a recital in New York, the New York Times, kind of cheekily referred to him as a box office draw and a heartthrob. But more seriously, they also said he's the most important and versatile tenor of his generation. And I think that's true for anyone who's had the chance to hear him. It's really extraordinary. He is one of the living stars of the opera world. Yeah. Great voice, great looks, great stage presence, and beautiful musicianship. So, it's pretty exciting to have him sort of surprisingly open this strange re-entry season. I think about his, incandescence as a musical figure in much the same way I think about the 90s and aughts when Cecilia Bartoli was regularly coming to Hill Auditorium. It's that caliber of voice and artistry. And even with the uncertainty of the pandemic that we're living through, we're pretty surprised to, be getting the phone calls from far and wide, people that are going to be traveling hours to come here and hear him. I think the other important thing to say about this recital, and, for the diehard UMSers, they know this, but Hill is an extraordinary venue to hear a large orchestra in. But as you and I have talked about a lot, it's almost better for these small, intimate experiences. And Jonas has close to a dramatic voice, a voice of scale that's going to just fill the hall. The hall is going to show his voice off, but his voice is going to show the hall off. Yeah. And that's, I think that's really fun. Knowing that we were going to be talking about this today, I've just been reflecting on, 143 years. This is the beginning of our 143rd season. And, one of the traditions we have at UMS over that arc of time is bringing the most important, not only opera stars to Hill Auditorium, but musicians of diverse musical genres to show off in Hill Auditorium. But in the opera world, you think of Jesse Norman and Leontine Price and Marian Anderson and Rosa Poncel. And all of these great opera stars have come to Ann Arbor many, many times over the last 143 years. And of course, I would be remiss in not mentioning, of course, the most famous of them all, Enrico Caruso, who, strangely enough, was scheduled after years and years and years of cultivation to sing a recital in October of 1918, which everyone in Ann Arbor was on pins and needles for. And 3 days before the recital, it was canceled when public health officials closed down all public convening because of, the Spanish flu pandemic. And so there is a kind of spooky, strange parallelism going on here. Caruso was supposed to come, but couldn't come because of the Spanish flu pandemic. He then later was able to return the next year and thrill Ann Arbor audiences in a long and many encored recital. And so
how much fun did you have telling Jonas Kaufmann's people about that story?
Oh yeah, I mean, let's just put it this way. It certainly got their attention when, we were able to sort of create this kind of parallel narrative about Jonas Kaufmann now coming as we're not out of the pandemic, but we're moving towards a place where hopefully things will normalize a bit. And for him to be the first musical offering in Hill, just like Enrico Caruso, over 100 years ago, it's interesting to think about. It's one of the gifts, frankly, of working in a storied organization, because you're able to really reflect on what's happened before and learn from that.
Yeah. Let me just tell everybody the details. So this is Tuesday, October 12th at 7:30 p.m. in Hill Auditorium, Jonas Kaufmann in recital. We are requiring proof of vaccination or a negative COVID PCR test that has been administered within the last 72 hours. We encourage people to allow extra time, and we're going to be communicating you in the days leading up to the performance. But we encourage you to show up early. We ask for your patience. This will be the first time we're going through these logistics of making this happen. Michael, I want to thank you for not only all your work with the season, which is sensational and so beautifully curated with you and the UMS team, but this work on Jonas Kaufmann, I think, just makes an already special season that much more special. But before I let you go, I want to know if you're going to let our audience know if you've got a can't miss UMS performance this season. What is it?
Well, I hate this question because the curatorial staff gets really close to everything, and then it's kind of having to pick amongst your children.
Yeah.
But I do. I'm really, really, really excited about another theater offering we're presenting this season. It's called Home. It's by an American theater maker and his company of performers. It's sort of part physical theater and clowning, part illusion and magic. It's part audience participation, and it's all wrapped up in this sort of 90-minute meditation on what it means to have a house and what it means to be at home. And you and I saw this together in Edinburgh. And I think at the time we really liked it and we thought it was engaging and quite wonderful. But after we've all essentially been forced into living at home for the better part of 2 years, I think the meaning of the piece is going to resonate in ways we couldn't have possibly imagined. And I just know it's the kind of show that people are going to talk about for a long time after having seen it.
I think you're absolutely right. I think this piece was already magical before, and I think it will be that much more magical and meaningful now. And I will quote James Ennis, who, of course, was meant to be on our season in person this last year, but did a digital concert for us. He was also there that night.
Yeah, he went there with us.
And it's a great evidence about, this will be magic for regular theater goers and theater aficionados, but for people who never see theater. And James said to us after the concert, he said, I don't even know what that was, but that's one of the greatest things I have ever experienced. He just loved it. So Home with Jeff Sabel and company later on in the UMS 21-22 season. Michael, thank you so much for all that you're doing. Thank you for Jonas Kaufman, and thank you for everything else to you and Mark and Mary, Cayenne, everyone who's involved in putting these amazing seasons together. Thank you.
Thanks, Matthew. It's fun to be here. See you later.
Great. Have a great night. We're going to close actually tonight with just a brief overview of some other activities. I'm going to do my best to walk you through a few things that you can experience in the months of September and October. And then we're going to call it a night and let you get on with your evening. So just a few things right out of the gate. We have 3 more remaining You Can Dance Outside events at Riverside Park in Ypsilanti and at Olson Park in Ann Arbor. I was at the first one in Ypsilanti a couple of weeks ago. It was just absolutely fabulous. It's a stunning, beautiful pavilion right on the river there. There's the next You Can Dance Outside coming up this Sunday, September 12th, 11 a.m. at Riverside Park in Ypsilanti. And then on the 26th and then on October 10th, we have 2 You Can Dance Outsides right here in Ann Arbor, in Olson Park, featuring Heather Mitchell and Halim Razul. So this is such a great program. You do not need to be an experienced dancer to participate. It's very participatory. It's fun. It's beautiful outside. We're all going to savor every moment of a beautiful end of summer and early fall here in Southeast Michigan. So You Can Dance coming up this coming Sunday, and then again on September 26th and October 10th. We have a number of digital events coming up in the next couple of months. Even as we start to resume in-person live performances, we really felt it was important to keep putting digital content out there as well as in person. So we're excited to partner with some Detroit area presentations on both digital and in-person partnerships with the Arab American National Museum in Dearborn. These are great colleagues and friends. We're delighted to help present Jama, which is a free 4-day virtual music festival featuring performances by Arab artists and celebrating Arab identity and community and culture. That's happening Thursday, September 23rd through 26th. We're really, really excited about all that we're involved in with the Arab American National Museum. They're great colleagues, and Jama should be very, very exciting, and UMS is proud to help present that. On the in-person side, later in September, we're going to be working with our colleagues at Michigan Opera Theater. We've worked with them in the past to present the American Ballet Theater down in Detroit. This is a very, very different project. They have a wonderful new artistic director, Yuval Sharon. Together with Yuval and the president and CEO, Wayne Brown, we've forged an agreement to help produce Bliss, which is going to be presented at Detroit's historic Michigan Building Theater. This was a wonderful beautiful 20th century theater that was, well, fortunately or unfortunately, converted into a parking garage about 50 years ago. But the remnants and the kind of framing of the theater still exists. It's a really stunning, striking atmosphere. Bliss is actually a performance work that lasts 12 hours. It takes a 3-minute excerpt from the final minutes of the last act of Mozart's wonderful Marriage of Figaro and repeats that performance without pause over a 12-hour period. And to do this with the same cast and the same orchestra, it's kind of a Herculean feat. It's really extraordinary. And to do it in this old Michigan theater environment, I think it's just going to be absolutely stunning. And we hope that audiences in Detroit, but certainly from Ann Arbor, will think about turning out for this unique performance. You can find out about tickets on the MOT Michigan Opera Theater website. You do not have to stay the full 12 hours to be candid, although you can stay as long as you want. We're really excited about collaborating with Yuval and Michigan Opera Theater on Bliss coming up on Saturday, September 25th. The performance runs from 12 noon to 12 midnight in downtown Detroit at the historic Michigan Building Theater. Moving on, we have 2 special digital performances for families this fall. These are very specific things that our education and community engagement team has put together. Our live school day performances are going to return this coming November, but we have 2 digital school day performances that are being extended to families in the meantime. The first is Acrobufos, which is a circus-style adventure that happens in early October, and the wonderful, our longtime collaborators, the Mariachi Vargas de Calitlan, in early November. So Mariachi Vargas, of course, has been on the Hill Auditorium stage several times. They're audience favorites here at UMS, and we hope that audiences will enjoy this school day performance digitally. So Acrobufos and Mariachi Vargas. Moving on to 2 other digital presentations this fall. We developed, as many of you may remember, some digital artist residencies this last year. We chose some very extraordinary artists and collaborators. And this fall, we'll get to see some more of the results of those digital artist residencies. First up is the wonderful American choreographer Cleo Parker Robinson, whose company worked with Amalia Viviana Bastana Hernandez on a new work entitled The 4 Journeys. And this work was in development for 2 years and explores the 4 root cultures in Mexico: the indigenous, Spanish, Asian, and African. And while you're not going to see the full work of the 4 journeys, you're going to get a really powerful insight. So Cleo's digital artist residency involved developing a special documentary about how the 4 journeys was created. So it's a kind of a wonderful exploration of the creative process of the 4 journeys, and it premieres on Friday, October 1st at 7:30, and has a special Q&A to follow and will be then on demand through the 10th. And then last but not least, a culmination of pianist Tarek Yamani and the Spectral Quartet's digital artist residency comes at the end of October. This is going to feature the world premiere of a new work that UMS has commissioned for Tarek to write for the Spectral Quartet. Tarek has kind of reinvented the classical era music within the framework of Black American music. And so this new piece, I mean, the Spectral Quartet has sort of said, like, we don't know anyone who's doing work like this. I think it promises really to be a fascinating sort of exploration that fuses these different genres. So in October, amongst everything else, look out for Cleo Parker Robinson, Tarek Yamani, and a Spectral Quartet coming up in late October into November. So we've got a lot happening this fall. A reminder that October 12th will be the first live in-person performance at Hill Auditorium featuring Jonas Kaufmann in recital at Hill Auditorium. We've got a lot planned. We have Jazz at Lincoln Center. We have the Takash Quartet with Julian Lebreau. We have Handel's Messiah, and then we get into winter and hopefully a more normalized time period. But no matter what happens, UMS is here for you, live in person, digitally, and we so appreciate all of our audiences here. We thank you. We hope that this briefing has been helpful. We will definitely plan to check in with you next month prior to the first live in-person performances. Thank you so much from all of us at UMS. We can't wait to see you again in the concert hall and in our performance venues. And we can't say enough for the support that all of you have given us throughout the pandemic. And just know that we are ready. We are looking forward and we are ready for the 2021-22 season. Thank you so much. Please take care and we will see you soon in the concert hall. Good night.